Today we will talk about loneliness, or rather solitude, and the benefits it brings, how much it affects the quality of life, and how it helps maintain order in our inner world. Most people spend their entire days chasing something. They are busy, their every minute is scheduled. They are always doing something, either in the office, at meetings, or at gatherings. And they believe that the more time they spend in society among people or doing business and similar activities, the higher their efficiency. Many people do not like solitude. They always say they are busy and avoid such moments. In reality, they are not busy, but perhaps they are afraid of new thoughts that may come when a person is left alone, breaking free from their habitual life rhythms. It is worth noting that many successful and strong people often remain alone with themselves. What does this give them, and why is solitude an important state in a person's life? Let's use 7 main pieces of advice on how to use solitude beneficially and what solitude can bring into your life. So, the first tip, take off your mask. The power of solitude lies in the fact that solitude returns us to our natural state. We do not need to wear a mask. During solitude, we come back to ourselves. We have no one to prove anything to, no need to maintain an image before anyone, and we can be as natural as possible with ourselves. It is difficult to lie to ourselves because what would be the point? By the way, this is one of the reasons why many people fear solitude. They live in an imaginary world and are scared to be left alone with themselves. After all, they will have to look directly at themselves, their problems, and their illusions. Do not avoid solitude. It is like a mirror that allows you to see yourself and gain deeper answers to the question, who am I? The second tip, remove dissonances. Solitude allows you to restore harmony in your feelings and thoughts. Solitude restores the imbalance introduced into your inner world by external social pressure. When a person strives for something and wants to achieve something but lacks inner harmony, they are unlikely to reach their goal. Internal contradictions will lead to a loss of holistic perception of the world, doubts, and indecisiveness in their actions. For successful progress and goal achievement, inner harmony is crucial. Periods of solitude are precisely the tool that helps restore this harmony and the integrity of connections in the inner world. The third tip, act without bias or favoritism. Why is solitude important and useful? The thing is, when a person is in solitude, they can check their life compass, their navigational system, against 4 guiding points. The first guiding point is, of course, the Almighty. When a person is in solitude, they can reflect, how do they appear in the eyes of the Almighty? What does the Almighty think about them, their life, their actions, their intentions, thoughts, and desires? Try this exercise. Set aside some time for solitude, an hour or at least 10 to 20 minutes, and think specifically about this topic. How does the Almighty view my life? And what does He think about my actions and thoughts? This is your first guiding point in times of solitude. The second guiding point is your conscience. It is in solitude that you can clearly hear your conscience. It will tell you whether your actions or intentions are right and righteous. Often the voice of conscience is drowned out by imposed behavior stereotypes, subjective evaluation systems ingrained in our minds, or justifications for actions, our own or others, adopted to avoid anxiety over conscience signals. However, in the silence of solitude, setting aside prejudices and applying to ourselves the same standards we apply to others, we have the opportunity to hear what our second guiding point, our conscience, is telling us. The third guiding point is the opinion of those around us, especially our close ones. Solitude allows us to pause and think. How do others see us? What do they think about us? In a person's life, there are aspects that they do not see clearly themselves, but which are obvious to others. This is how our life looks from the outside. It is worth paying attention to and analyzing not only the views of those we consider authoritative, but also those whose opinions may not seem significant to us. And while an outside perspective may be subjective, by summing up, generalizing, and listening to the opinions of others, we can, in moments of solitude, extract important information from our third guiding point. The fourth guiding point, which is very important to us, is checking in with our dreams. In other words, the fourth guiding point is the dreamer child that lives in our soul. And only in solitude can we talk to them and ask, have I fulfilled my dreams or not? Make sure to have this conversation. Set aside some time and talk to the dreamer child inside you. Listen to their dreams, desires, and aspirations. Perhaps you will hear what your soul is telling you. This is your fourth guiding point with which you can converse during times of solitude. The fourth tip: determine meanings, goals, and intentions. Why is loneliness so important and useful? Solitude allows you to look at your true intentions, allows you to ask yourself, who am I? What am I living for? Where am I going? What am I doing? For what purpose? In everyday life, we often act and do things without even thinking about our intentions. We have what seems to be a goal, and we move toward it. However, it is our intentions that can become the main criterion when evaluating our actions. Imagine the following situation. A child is running with hot tea to his mother, stumbles, and spills the tea on you. You jump up and, with irritation, angrily address the child. How many times have I told you, don't run around the house with hot tea? If we only look at the child's actions and their result, we might evaluate them as neglecting the father's instructions. But if we look at the child's intentions, then their actions are evaluated as a desire to make mom happy by bringing her tea. And even this failed attempt deserves praise. It is worth carefully considering your intentions and making an unbiased evaluation of them. Doing this in the silence of solitude, a person can get more accurate answers to the questions. Who am I? Component placement. Where am I going in my life? And why do I do this or that action? The fifth tip: take time to absorb knowledge. The benefit of solitude is also that it allows you to thoroughly absorb and understand new knowledge. The thing is, knowledge is not absorbed at the moment it is received. Allow me to give a small illustration. Some animals chew cud. This is how their digestive system works. Their nutrition includes two phases. First, they eat food in the pasture, kind of stockpiling it, and later, in the calm setting of domestic rest, they regurgitate it and chew it again for further digestion. If you have watched a video, listened to a podcast, or even read a book, or taken notes from a lecture, and after that did not take a pause and reflect on what you heard, or saw, or read, then the previous knowledge will not be absorbed deeply. Absorbing knowledge involves thinking about it and reinforcing some key elements. During this reflection, another important process takes place: the systematization of knowledge by our consciousness, which allows us to quickly retrieve it when necessary and use it effectively, as well as see its potential connections with other existing knowledge. Be sure to take pauses. Even if you just sit alone for a few minutes and reflect on the information you received, it will be absorbed by you much more deeply. The sixth tip: listen to how thoughts are born and revelations come. Solitude gives birth to new thoughts and new knowledge. It is not always limited to reflecting on past experiences. It is in the silence of solitude that insights and revelations can arise, ones that do not rely on our experience. Once again, a small allegory. Being in solitude reminds me of a pearl diver. He is immersed in a state where he is distanced from the usual conversations and the usual images of everyday life. But in the place where he is now immersed, he can discover treasures that cannot be found in any other way, treasures that may belong to him alone. The seventh tip: remove distractions. All of the above is possible only if you don't just have solitude. There are people who can mechanically perform this exercise and go into solitude, but are afraid to face the truth and simply engage in self-deception. They are not mature enough to be honest with themselves. Therefore, solitude brings benefits only if 1. Nothing distracts you, 2. Nothing irritates you. 3. You are mature enough to be honest with yourself. 4. You are ready to take responsibility for your life and for everything that happens in it. This 7th point is a condition under which the previous 6 work effectively. Do not simply mechanically go into solitude. Be sure to follow these conditions, and then you will get the most benefit from solitude. Solitude or seclusion is a very powerful tool, and often it is more preferable than being in some kind of gathering. I really enjoy being in solitude and reflecting, and I recommend this tool to you as a highly effective one. I am sure each of you has your own stories related to solitude. Some absolutely do not like solitude. Write in the comments, why don't you like solitude? There are people who fear solitude. Also write, why are you afraid of solitude? What are you afraid to hear or see there? And this, by the way, is very important, because thanks to this, you can come to a solution for many of your problems. Also, write if you love solitude. And have you had any insights during solitude? Share your experience with others so they can see that solitude is an extremely useful tool. And in conclusion, how can solitude be applied in practice? In fact, besides reserving special time for it, even during the day, you can define clear periods of solitude for yourself. For example, when you wake up in the morning and are still in bed, you can listen to yourself, your thoughts, and dreams, the points we discussed today. This is a short moment of solitude. When you are reflecting on something, this can also be considered solitude. When nothing distracts you, no notifications, no irritants, nothing else, and you can calmly, in solitude, reflect on the information you just received. Solitude can also be when you take a short rest, do sports, or go for a walk. It is important that nothing distracts me during this time. Nothing irritates me. And I can, while being in nature, talk to myself, turn to my soul, and communicate with my 4 guiding points. Solitude is not always a separate activity. It is something you can insert into your daily schedule. However, during this time, you will have to fight to ensure it isn't taken up by anything else. Therefore, use this tool wisely and approach it consciously.